So Phil, what had you get into the insurance industry, and tell us a little bit about how Access Insurance came to be?
Well, I started selling insurance actually, kind of as a side gig, right out of college, and just really liked it. I thought it was great, made a lot of money at it, and so that's pretty much how I started. Then I worked for another agency and built that agency up quite a bit. Became president of the agency. It was a pretty large agency, mostly selling health insurance and group health insurance, like employee benefits. And worked for them for about 15 years and really tried to buy the agency. It just didn't work out. It was a God thing. And so ended up starting my own agency, my wife and I, really 25 years ago. This year's 2025 is our 25th year. So pretty exciting to be having my own business now for 25 years. The story is actually quite interesting too. My wife, I had worked for this individual for about 15 years, and he was kind of a toxic individual. Learned a lot from him though, so it was certainly all negative, but ended up trying to buy the business from him. Didn't work out in the end, and I ended up quitting, basically, kind of leaving, and wanted to start our own business. And my wife was instrumental in that. My wife was amazing. It's an interesting story because had all the trappings, was country club member, multiple beautiful cars, beautiful home, everything was great. And then on a Friday, my income went from a few $100,000 to zero. And like most stupid people, I didn't save a lot of cash, didn't have a lot of money, and was, in a pretty frantic state. So my wife was interesting because the individual who I'd kind of broken up with, the company, had called me back and he said, I want you to come back to work and everything. And my wife, I'll never forget this because it was just emblazoned in my brain. She said, I don't care what we have to do. I don't care if we have to sell our house, sell all the cars, move into a one-bedroom apartment, just start your own business. Don't go back to work for anyone. And so with that, I said, okay, my wife's okay with it, which is, if you think about it, that's pretty rare, right? Because most wives would be like, you have to go back, keep stability, keep our daughter in private school, and all those kinds of things at the time. And she was like, go for it, man. So I did. I had a loan for about $100,000 that I used to kind of pay some bills. And I would work every single day like a maniac. And I had to sell to pay the bills. I literally had to sell to eat. So being a good salesman, I was pretty good at it. And so I ended up hiring a telemarketer, calling into employee benefits. And I essentially started selling critical illness policies, and they had a 90% commission, and the insurance company would advance me the commissions. So I would do payroll deduction. I would sell 20, 30, 40 policies at a time in a business, had a great sales pitch, and would do really well. And so on Saturday mornings, I'd get up at 6 a.m. I had no real staff or anything, so I'd have to fax. Back in those days, 25 years ago, a fax machine was a big deal. They had the little curly paper, and I would sit there in the mornings faxing 30, 40, 50 applications on a Saturday morning, get her in 6 a.m., be my own back office, if you will, so that I would have my paycheck or my advances on my policies sold, by Friday, so I could, pay my bills and live. Long story short, that worked out great. I kept expanding. I kept selling more. I was always purely selling. And then I started getting into, more and more employee benefits, did more group employee benefits, started to build up a reasonable, income. I remember getting to, say, $100,000 a month. I thought was just, insane. Like I would never get to that, level. And so now 25 years later, it's, more like 6 times that. So on a monthly, so we're gonna probably in the range of 7 million this year after 25 years. So it wasn't an overnight success, but it was the true story of just grit, determination, and just, and working hard. But I tell you, I couldn't have done it without my wife. My wife Lisa, she's the most amazing person. She's recently just went through cancer treatment and, got through it like a rock star, got into clinical trial at MD Anderson, and was cured of cancer in like 90 days, so it was insane. So she's really super tough. She's been my inspiration. She's kind of my rock as well. And this year we'll have been married 42 years. So we got married, when we were 10. I'm just kidding, but now we got married right out of college. So it was pretty neat. So we've been together for 42 years or more than that, but been married 42 years. And The business, to me, insurance I absolutely love. I think it's just super fun. It's great business, very lucrative. I'm super proud of our staff that we have at Excess now. We're up to around 110 full-time employees, both remote employees that work in the Philippines and some other countries, as well as our US staff. And I'm also extremely proud of the income levels of our salespeople, CSRs. We're probably the highest paid people in the business as far as for homeowners and personal lines. So that's kind of how it got started, if you will. And the business of homeowners, which now we're one of the largest homeowner agencies in Florida, started as being basically contrarian. I was just doing a little bit of homeowners on the side. And what happened was Hurricane Andrew came, and I saw that all the insurance companies like Allstate, State Farm, all these big ones, Nationwide, you name the company, they all said, oh my gosh, we had the first hurricane in 40 some odd years. So they decided to stop writing homeowners insurance. And so I looked at that as pure opportunity. I said, wow, that was the perfect time to jump into that business. And then they formed Citizens Property Insurance Company, which is state run. So I said, we're going to be the best at selling Citizens for now, because that won't stay forever. And then companies will start to come back, and then we'll be able to truly, dominate the market. And that's exactly what happened. So I was right on that call, and now we write about 500 plus new homeowner policies every single month, which is amazing. So that's pretty much how we got started.
You mentioned you've got a lot of staff, and not all of them are U.S. based. How did that come to be? How are you looking at your staff, and how did you get introduced to virtual staff?
Well, it's amazing. I started using virtual staff primarily in the Philippines about 10 years ago. And I actually have people that we hired 10 years ago that still work for us in the Philippines. So it's pretty neat. Great people. And I actually absolutely love the Philippine culture. Great Christians, great people, very family oriented. Just a great culture. Very highly educated, highly motivated, and just very kind people. So connected. A friend of mine actually referred me over. He said, hey, you ought to think about getting a virtual assistant. And I said, okay, you know what, I'll try it. So I interviewed my first one, hired my first one, and I'm like, this is insane. I mean, this is like gonna, make us so profitable, it's gonna be crazy. So I ended up, as of today, we're actually at about 70 full-time virtual assistants, maybe a little more now, I'm not sure. I got to check, it changes. But we use the virtual assistants to do just about anything that a licensed insurance agent can't do. And virtual assistants, they're college educated, super smart, just like anything. You get the right person, you can get the wrong person, of course, in the Philippines, but mostly we try to get the right people. And they just are hard workers, smart, and it's really revolutionized my business and made it super profitable because we're able to hire Philippine remote staff to do every kind of task you can think of. For example, sending out all of our documents, even doing quotes, renewal quotes. They're all done in the Philippines, and then they're given to our insurance agents. This allows our insurance agents, the licensed agents, to spend more time on the phone or FaceTime with their clients or go out and market, because 98% of everything is done remotely by our remote staff. And it's kind of interesting because when COVID happened, everyone was working remotely. So it's sort of like we were already doing it. So it didn't really hurt us too much. So it's been absolutely amazing. So that's how we've been able to write the volume that we write and do the renewals that we write. And at Access Insurance, we're very different in that we absolutely quote and requote every single renewal, whether it's auto insurance, homeowners insurance. No one is just ignored or told, hey, your policy's fine, just stay with it. No, every single person gets requoted with all of our companies. And we have every single homeowner company, auto company, we have a huge amount of companies. So you kind of like outsource your shopping and your renewals and everything to our agency, and it's kind of unique.
You mentioned the hiring of these virtual assistants. You decided to start a business around staffing. Maybe tell a little bit of why, and how, and all around.
Well, it's so funny. Every day people would ask me, how are you doing this with virtual staff? You have 70 some odd virtual staff people. And I'm like, it's amazing. You should try it. It's a game changer. And it got to the point where I kept telling my story and people were like, well, I want to get one, and what can we do? And I realized that my experience in using virtual staff over 10 years was extremely valuable. Anyone can certainly go online and look up a virtual staff company or online and start interviewing Filipinos, okay, or whatever, from Colombia. We have some Colombians that work for us as well, Mexicans. And so it's not that big of a deal, but it's really hard because you don't know the culture. The people don't know how they think, how they act, how they respond. And I've learned that over 10 years. So our value add is that by starting Access Virtual Staffing, and we're able to now source, place, interview. We do the disc on all of them. We look up their backgrounds. We test their ability to, what their internet speed is and what their computer speed is. And we really hone in on what a client needs. And then we source that candidate. So that candidate is like a bullseye. And then we get them usually three candidates to interview. We do a video. We supply their resumes. And it's amazing. Most of the time, one of those three are hired by the interviewers. It's almost that we're that good at it. Okay, and it's interesting. When you're working with virtual staff, our experience is super helpful because we know about the little glitches. For example, we have a software that monitors their computer. So for example, if a remote worker isn't working, we'll be able to know it. It takes screenshots, it monitors. If they use one of these things called a jiggler, where they're pretending like they're working, we find out right away. So, and we do that for the client. And we have a client portal so they can see their invoices from us. We do their billing, we do the payroll, we pay their PhilHealth, which we suggest everyone pay. It's very inexpensive, but it covers their health insurance. So we also have a newsletter that goes out to all our virtual staff in our company, and we're also doing that for we're actually starting doing that with our virtual staffing company. So our experience in interviewing, placing, and getting the client to understand how this works, and both what can be done with virtual staff, and it also has some limitations. So you have to know and be very precise on the job functions that you want if you want your virtual staff person to be successful. And so we really dive deep to make sure that our staff that we place are very successful. That's what we want to do. And we want to make it so simple for our clients that they're just super excited, super happy. And there's no question that they don't love it, because we put one staff person in usually, and within a month or two, hey, I need another one, I need another one, I need another one. They start to realize, wow, I can outsource things for $7, $8 an hour with no Medicare, no FICA taxes, no income taxes, fully deductible, no lawsuits, no EPLI, being sued for harassment or this or that crazy stuff, which I've of course been sued for, like all business owners have. So it is a game changer. I mean, our virtual staffing company, it's one of the most exciting things I've done since starting the agency and working in the insurance business. So our individuals that work in it, yourself, David is our chief operating officer who's asking me the questions, does an amazing job. I mean, our staff, we have 7, 8 now in the Philippines that are sourcing. We have managers, we have payroll people, and we just do a phenomenal job. So that's how I got started with it. And I'm, of course, being a salesman, I'm doing a sales pitch as usual, but it's very exciting for me, and it's a game changer for clients. It really is.
Next question I want to ask is, what are some of the main pain points, so to speak, that clients are dealing with that this solves for? Maybe give us some of the top ones.
Yeah, well, certainly anything that can be done remotely can be done, okay? So I'll give you some examples. For example, we have an individual that is an attorney and does estate planning, and she's struggling having to hire an attorney, kind of a junior attorney, starting at $125,000 a year to $150,000 a year. We sourced an attorney licensed in the Philippines, fully graduated, worked as an attorney in the Philippines for a certain amount of years. She's netting out paying the whole attorney's fee for us, paying through us, $10 an hour. Now, this attorney, estate tax attorneys, for example, a lot of the stuff is boilerplate. Of course, a lot of it's customized, but a lot of the data gathering, a lot of the information that person does is being done by the remote attorney. And this individual, I'm not going to mention her name, but is head over heels so excited she can't believe how much money she's saving. And it turns out, we found out that attorneys, if the if we hire a virtual staffer that is an attorney that's licensed in the Philippines, they can bill their regular hourly rate here. So imagine you're getting an attorney working for $10 an hour that you're billing out at $300 an hour. That's pretty crazy. And the work is first class. So that's a perfect example. Accounting, we have a construction company that charges all their materials, all their building supplies, millions of dollars a year onto credit cards, right? And they have invoices, and it's always a mess, hard to reconcile. You have to make sure that so such and such amount of drywall is accounted for XYZ project, right? So we hired a virtual staffing person that was an accounting background, invoicing background, and it's been literally a game changer. The person's paying them, I think, $8 an hour or something like that, and getting probably a person that would normally in the US be $50 an hour, something like that, with precision. These people in the Philippines as well are highly, highly educated. So they're computer wizards. They're mostly younger people, 20s, 30s, and the amount of skill level that they have coming out of college will blow your mind. Most of them are adept at, not only if they were have an accounting degree, social media, graphic design. The amounts of things that they know above and beyond their general scope of their job is incredible. So those are a couple examples. We have an example of a manufacturer that had been asking for a employee handbook update from his current staff for about 10 years, he said. And they could never quite do it, never finished it up. So we sourced an HR person, individual trained in human resources. And this individual told me that within 10 days or so, he had a fully updated employee manual, and it's a pretty big manufacturing company. The HR person we hired for him, also interfaced with his attorney, and within 10 days, they had a fully ready to go employee handbook that had not been done in 10 years by his current staff. So it's pretty cool to see the skill. It's not just getting a low price for labor. Of course, that's fabulous and one of the biggest advantages. It's getting really good people. I mean, maybe better than you're hiring here. That's what's kind of mind-blowing. And so that's how we really are transforming a lot of businesses here in Florida and all over the country. So those are just a few examples. But in our agency, we use everything from sending out documents to doing quoting to doing our commission accounting. I mean, you name it. If it can be done remotely in our agency, it's done remotely. There is no one here doing anything but making sales and doing things that are required by law, and that's how we work it.
Amazing. And are you seeing, with the insurance business, it led from 1 to 60, 70 plus. Are other clients like seeing that light as well, where it's, I found somebody for this, but then it led to this and this and this?
Well, that's a great question. What's really interesting is the people that we're talking to, generally small business, say 2 to 100 employees, let's say, they're entrepreneurs, okay? And so they're always thinking, what's the newest thing I can do? What's the latest, cool widget I can use in my business to save money or be better than the competition? They're usually nimble, smart people. Not trying to pat myself on the back, but that's kind of how I am. I'm always working and moving and shaking, right? And so when I connect with them, and David, when you connect with them, they typically, after they see the light and go, wow, I've got this person doing this and this and this, I could use one for doing that and that and that. So they end up quickly ramping up to having 1, 2, 4, 5, 6 pretty quickly, because they realize what they can accomplish that they might not have been able to accomplish. Like for example, when you're trying to scale a business, right? The biggest problem is capital, right? I mean, if you're a small business owner, you got 3 or 4 employees, you really need to hire another $100,000 a year salesman or whatever, but you don't have the funds to do it. But if you can maximize that one salesperson you have now to where they're just making sales calls and not entering in the data into the system and processing the orders and doing all that, you can 10x that salesperson and increase your sales by maybe only spending an extra $500 a month for a remote employee. So that's the excitement that I see with our staffing clients. They catch the wave, and we're kind of like preaching. To me, a lot of times it's preaching the choir. They just haven't realized how quickly we can source for them, what a great job we can do for them. And when they start to realize it, I mean, they refer us like crazy. I mean, all of our clients, we get a referral every week from most of them, because they're like, man, you wouldn't believe the new person I've got working, and you wouldn't believe how transformative it's been for my business and how profitable it's been for our business. So that's really exciting to me. You know, I like helping people. So to me, I love to see small business people grow. You know?
You're a heartfelt guy. I think you have a lot of impacts. What's the impact that you're seeing? I think you've alluded to it for small business owners, for anybody you're interacting with. Like you love to pour into people, but like, what's the impact you want these businesses to have?
Well, you know, for me as a Christian, you know, I want them to have a good life. I want them to have a good family. I want them to be able to have time with their family. I hate to see, you know, fathers that are working 80 hours a week like I used to do, you know, and barely be able to be around, okay? Things like that. So that's kind of the impact. I want to impact their small businesses. I love small business. I believe in small business. Small business is what drives this economy, and it drives America, you know, and I think we're seeing kind of a renaissance in that right now. You know, people are like, hey, you know what? I can start a business, you know, it could be anything. It could be a, you know, pressure cleaning business. What do you need? $500, $600 in a car? Throw the pressure cleaner in there and start knocking on doors. I mean, this is America. You can make money doing anything, right? Washing windows, washing cars, anything. And so it's pretty cool to see that. But I also love the impact that we have with our remote workers. Because, you know, the Philippines is a fairly poor country, but they're just wonderful people. And so I love to see people with a stable income now, and they're able to, you know, buy maybe that scooter they've been waiting for or saving up for, or fix their house, or get a bigger house, or move or rent a bigger house. So there's been a lot of impact there. And so I'd say the time savings for the entrepreneur, that, you know, he can't work 80 hours a week forever. You know, you have a heart attack and die, and you'll have lots of money at your funeral. So the point is, you want to enjoy your life now. And so by having remote employees for the entrepreneur, it frees up a lot of time. They can use it both creatively to build a business, but also to have a normal life, you know, and be able to function properly. Someone can handle your emails, someone can answer your phone, someone can do your scheduling, someone can book your airline tickets and your hotels if you want. I mean, it's pretty amazing what that they can do. And then the impact we've seen with our remote employees is, you know, nothing but phenomenal. So I love the impact we're having there too. Kind of a kingdom impact, if you will, on both sides.
I've had the pleasure of witnessing you also drive what I'll say is culture and values, both in your personal life and your professional life. What are some of the values that drive you, that you bring forward?
Well, you know, that's a great question. And the number one thing that I recommend everyone is make sure that you are pretty much black and white. It's either right or it's wrong. Any gray area you need to eliminate from your life, okay? If something isn't 100% godly, moral, correct, don't do it, okay? If it's got a little shadiness to it, or you're getting involved with individuals that are shady, it will always come back to you. And I've lived that. And by the way, that's from hard lessons. It's not from, you know, I've made some errors when I was younger and hired some people I shouldn't have hired, and just made some dumb decisions, like we all do. You know, no one's perfect. But the key is to, you know, get up from those errors and learn. But I think integrity, honesty, openness, transparency, those are really keys to how I function. You know, I really don't have to think about anything. And I hope I instill in my employees a sense of, you don't have to ask me if something's right or wrong. It's either right or wrong. You know, if it's wrong, don't do it. You know, if it doesn't make sense, like if we make an error, for example, just tell the client, hey, I made a mistake here. I'm going to fix it. And yeah, the premium was off by a little bit, but we're going to make it up to you. Or we'll pay that extra $50 for you, or we'll do whatever this first year. But I mean, we rarely do make mistakes, but I always encourage and want a culture where people understand that it's normal to make mistakes. We are human beings. No one does everything perfectly. I will make mistakes today, probably. I mean, it's just the way it is, you know? But the thing is having honesty and integrity is really a pillar of prosperity. You know, you can have short-term prosperity. Yeah, you could be a drug dealer and you could say, oh, wow, he has a Rolls Royce and he's doing this. But eventually he'll be in jail and he'll lose everything and it will not work. Whether he gets away with it for 6 months or 6 years, that individual is doing bad stuff and it will come back and it will get him eventually, okay? So that's why I like to just live a really straight, clean, straightforward life. You know, things are right or they're wrong, you know, and Morality is very important to me. I want to be around people that are honest and integrity. You could make mistakes with me, I don't care. As long as I know you're honest and you're straightforward, we can move forward on that. If I think you're doing something dishonestly, I'm going to fire you immediately. I don't want anybody doing that, to me. Or I don't want to be associated with anyone that's not honest and has integrity. So that's probably one of my core values in terms of running my business and myself.
One of the things we've talked about is you can see a business or have a business owner explain their business to you, and you can almost like dissect and see within a snap of a fingers what's going on. What are some of those top items that you see consistently with businesses or leaders where it's often like whether it's a bottleneck or it's just their own limitation?
Right. Well, first of all, thanks for the compliment. I appreciate it. But it's not that I'm so smart. It's just that I have 35 years of business experience. So when people explain things to me, I generally tend to figure it out in about 2 seconds. I go, here's your problem. Here's what you need to do. and this will work for you. But the second part of your question is really interesting because I can see things that are bottlenecks, and usually it's from a lack of organization or it's from a lack of labor. So those two things are what will occur. So an individual will be running and not stepping back a little bit to work on their business. They're working in their business and they're running around with a chicken like with their head cut off, but they need to work on their business. And so a lot of times when I look at this, and David, you do this as well, we look at a business and we say, man, this is great business, but you're missing the boat here. You need somebody to answer the phone a little better. I love, we have a client that has a pharmacy, and she was just having a hard time answering the phone and what have you. And pharmacy, you need to answer the phone. I mean, it's important. So we ended up hiring a nurse, full-year graduate nurse in the Philippines, answers the phone, can answer questions, really smart on the computer. So we were able to bottleneck that and solve that one little simple problem, just answering the phones, Like in our insurance agency, AI is so great and automatic answering machines and push-button phone systems are fabulous. But you know what? I don't care how much technology there is right now. Everyone wants to talk to a human being, okay? So we have 4 or 5 concierges answering the phones, solving problems immediately if possible, connecting them to the agent or to the right person to fix their issues. And that's something that I think all clients can use. The phones are big time. Not answering the phone is huge. I mean, when I call a doctor's office and no one answers and I have to leave a voicemail, I'm pretty busy. That's like annoying to me. I gotta wait. Maybe they're gonna call me back. Maybe they won't. And to me, it's like, why wouldn't a doctor's office have 2 or 3
remote receptionists, booking appointments, answering the phone?
I mean, it would just be, to me, like a game changer for them. And just about any other business. I mentioned as a kind of a thing, like imagine a guy that's doing pressure cleaning and he has a little business, right? And he's doing pretty well. If he's a one-man band, right, he's got the pressure cleaner motor going and he's spraying. Is he able to answer the phone and book a new appointment? No. But he might call back in the evening or the next day, but that client probably already called another pressure cleaner that answered the phone and booked his appointment, and he missed out on that lead. So for, $6 an hour, $5 an hour, what if we put a remote employee on there working, answering the phone, booking the appointments, describing the jobs, quoting the jobs, it could be done. So that's a typical example of like a bottleneck, just a dumb thing, I went into this coffee shop and the guy really prided himself in making each cup of coffee custom. Like he would put in the grinds and he would sit there and you'd watch him and you're standing there for like 10 minutes waiting for a cup of coffee. And I walked in and I said, why don't you just make a giant couple of big pots of coffee here, let people self-serve them and pay, with an auto payment thing, like whatever. Yeah, I guess I should do that. Because I said, I would like to come and buy coffee from you, but you know what? It's too much of a pain in the neck. I want to come in and grab my coffee and leave. I don't want to sit here and watch you make it. Although it's interesting and nice and it's a great cup of coffee, you're missing the boat here. So a perfect example of just seeing something quickly and then making a quick change that can literally be a game changer. That guy who went from making, 30 cups of coffee a day, selling it to 120, because people now are like, hey, I can just run in, pour my own coffee and get out of here, pay the guy a few bucks and I'm good. Simple stuff like that. So that's kind of what I look at. But when I look at those individuals, and you've been great at this, David, as well, we look at the business real quick and we go, man, here's some items that we could offshore for you. And it's funny because at first people think, well, if I hire these remote people, I'm going to be firing all my current workers, and nothing could be further from the truth. If you have good workers, they're just doing, in my business, if you're doing $5 or $6 an hour work and I'm paying you $50 an hour, you're cheating me, okay? You can't be doing your own data entry, okay? If you're a salesman making $200,000 a year, you can't. You're going to have to use and allow the remote to do it at $5 an hour. And so that's where I see the efficiencies coming in, and where business owners can start to go, wow, you know what? I need to be thinking, what can I be doing for $6, $7, $8, $9 an hour where my people are doing things they shouldn't be doing, okay? If I see my salespeople data entering clients, I get pissed off, okay? Because I'm telling you, they're wasting time. They should be on the phone with a client, closing a deal, selling a case, not doing their own quote, doing their own data entry. I get that done for $5, $6 an hour. I don't need you to do that. What I need you to do is get on the phone and make some more sales. Now, if I can take that salesman that was making, $100,000 a year and help him to make $250,000 a year simply by adding $500, $800 a month for a remote assistant, I'm doing it every time. And that's what I've done. And that's how we've been so successful. So it's absolutely amazing. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, one of the other things that I find admirable, and I've taken notes plenty of times, is you have this, I'd say, like water off a seal's back, unflappable, like something comes your way, but it doesn't like stop you. You give it thoughtful consideration, and then it's like, here's the next thing we're doing, here's the next thing we're doing, here's the next thing we're doing. I think a lot of leaders might get deer in headlights. Did you always have that, or have you developed it? Like, what's something you would say about that?
I've always been pretty resilient, and I've always been, I was an athlete, so I was always, high jumping, playing football. I was always in things like that. And so when you're an athlete, you tend to learn how to play with an injury, play hurt, miss that field goal, and then still have to, come back and play next week. So I think that helped me a lot, and purely experience too. I think the biggest thing I can tell to young people is you have to have grit and determination and perseverance. And you can't allow things to stop you. If you think that life is a bowl of cherries and everything's going to work out according to your game plan, you're living in fantasy land, right? You're always going to have obstacles, problems, people, situations. And I guess I've had so many of them, and I had a choice: either crawl under my desk and suck my thumb, or go after it, and win. And so I've had, massive setbacks. I've had huge, I had a couple losses. I had a lawsuit that went on for like 4 years. It was insane. I'm a person I took great care of, did a great job for, and literally insane. I had a controller that was embezzling from me. Had to get over that. I had another individual who, had just done a terrible job in a bunch of different areas, and I had to overcome. So I've had so many times where I've had to overcome things. And even when I started my business, there were times, I used to have this joke with my father, he's now deceased, but I would have to trade checks with him. I'd go, Dad, I can't make the payroll this week. Can you loan me 10 grand? And that money will come in on Friday, so I'll write you a check for 10 grand and you can deposit it on Monday of next week. And that was like my loan account. So I would go to my dad and go, hey, lend me 5 grand, I can't make payroll. So I'm used to having, tough stuff. Sometimes I'd have to make payroll with a credit card advance, back in those days. And so I learned to just be tough. But I think toughness and resilience and perseverance will get you so far in life. You just can't be a little, oh, this problem happened, what am I going to do? And I'll tell you, my attitude has always been, some action is better than no action. I might not make the exact move, but I might have to move and adjust, but I need to be moving forward, okay? And so I think for young people, the biggest thing is to have perseverance, and to have, and with anybody, it doesn't have to be a young person, but I find a lot of young people are like, I don't want to have this, I don't want to ruffle any feathers. And when you start to realize that, not everyone's going to see your vision, not everyone's going to have your energy, not everyone's going to necessarily be on board with you forever. I've had plenty of people that started with me that I thought were going to be with me and just didn't. They just didn't have the integrity, or they didn't have the skill set. And so I had to move on from them. And so I've just learned to be okay with that. I have something that I call that we all have to do, and I preach this a little bit. It's called embracing the process, okay? There is a process that we have in our Christian faith of sanctification, right? We're never perfect, right? We're trying to be like Jesus, but man, we fail virtually every day, 10 minutes after we wake up, right, on that deal. We should have done that. We should have done this. I should have said that. I should have helped that person. I should have, right? I don't do should haves, okay? I do the best I can. I forgive myself. I embrace the process of moving forward. And I embrace the process of learning and teaching, even myself, okay? You know, people are hard on themselves, right? You know, oh man, I gotta do more of this. I gotta do that. Stop beating up yourself, okay? Talk positively yourself, okay? And that's what I tell people. You know, I think I read something, it was like 70% of our thoughts are negative generally, right? Only 30% positive. Well, let's try to flip that, okay? Take those negative thoughts, you know, captive and say, no, you know what? I am okay. I'm good. I had the pleasure of coaching the high jump kids because I was a high jumper in high school and college and over at King's Academy. And so the biggest thing, you know, I teach them how to high jump and I teach them how to run up and I teach them
all the skill sets. But I started to realize that the kids were so down on themselves, the negative self-talk was like blowing my mind. I was like, what are you saying to yourself? I mean, somebody did the bar. Oh man, I always hit it with my butt. I'm like, well, that's nothing new. Everyone that knocks the bar over typically is with their butt. So what is that, some like revelation or something? But stop saying things by yourself. I think the best thing I had that I did, besides teaching the kids how to high jump, was to just stop talking down to yourself, okay? Talk yourself up, man. You're good, you got this, you're okay. You talk to yourself every day. The person you have the most conversations with on a daily basis is simply yourself, okay? And so knowing that, I'm going to talk positively to myself. I'm going to go, man, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to get through this, you know? When I was helping my wife through the cancer treatment, man, every minute was just curate. Hey, we're going to get through this. We got this. We're going to do this, man. We're okay. You did great. Well, you got that. Went through that MRI and CAT scan like a champ, you know? And so we just would talk ourselves up through really bad times, really dark times. You know, there's nothing fun about trying to get a IV started 3 or 4 times and your veins starting to hurt because the guys couldn't do a good job of it, you know? But hey, you know, we learn from those mistakes. But I think positive self-talk and having goals and writing out those goals. What do you want to do? What do you want to accomplish? How do you see yourself getting there? And then putting those things down and moving forward is the key.
Amazing.
One of the other, I experienced it yesterday, but I think when we first met, I think we had a business conversation, but I've gotten to know you on a personal level, understanding some of the things you share about the love you have for your wife, the way you care for her, the way you care for your family. And I saw a moment in your office yesterday with Jared, your grandson, and like how you pour into the people around you, and in particular your family. You want to share just a little bit about how you see your son, your grandson, like all the different things that are not your son, but
Well, yeah, no, my son-in-law, but he's like my son. So he's a great guy, Jared. Well, you know, that's a great question as well. I think that I love pouring into people. I love other people being successful. Like, I never think of myself as like, oh wow, I wish I had that bigger car, bigger boat, bigger. Yeah, I really don't. I revel in everyone else's success. Like, it just gives me energy. Like, I want to see everyone be successful. And that to me is just so much fun. And so by being able to pour into people, that's kind of part of what I do. So I really enjoy that. You know, my business, my wife and I, we could sell this business. I literally get a call on a daily basis, you know, hey, sell us your business. We'll give you, and I'm talking for a lot of money. I mean, more than most people would imagine. And I don't want to sell it. I want to keep it. And I want to have a legacy business. I want my grandkids someday to run this business, you know, and that's exciting to me. So I don't want them to run this business without skill sets and with the understanding of how we want to have that business for their kids and their kids. And so for me to pour into people, I want, and especially my family, like you said, I want them to understand and transmit those values, that resilience, you know, that go get it attitude, that energy level, to make things happen. And so that to me is very important, and I like it. So I always want to see people happy and excited and being successful. And so that's why I will do anything I can to help someone, you know, be successful And it doesn't have to be money successful. It could be anything successful. I mean, if you're doing anything, I want to see you successful and happy. And so that's why I like doing that. It's just part of my deal.
We got some younger folks in the room. But like, what's a piece of advice you'd give to your younger self if you were doing this all again, or what's something that comes to mind?
I'd probably say trust God more than myself. If I was saying that to my younger self, I'd say, you know what, man, a lot of times I took all the burden, all the energy, everything had to be me, okay? And it's really not biblical, right? I mean, so I would say if I was talking to young Phil, I'd say, Phil, trust God more, just relax, man. And I was Christian. I mean, I made mistakes, of course, like we all do, but I would say it to my younger self, Phil, man, trust God more. You know, you're not Superman, okay? Because I thought I was Superman. I thought if I just worked 80 hours a week, man, I would do it. And I did, but I used to not be able to relax. I literally would come home exhausted and I'd sit down with my wife and my daughter for 10 minutes and go, I think I'll go paint the house or, mow the lawn. I mean, I literally couldn't relax because I felt so driven. And that's what I would have said to my younger self for sure. Trust God more, relax, and be in the moment more. I think I was always looking forward instead of being here today at the moment, and that's something I get to do with my grandchildren now. I can just be there for them, and I'll spend all the time they want. They want to play cards, they want to do something, I'm there, and maybe I didn't do that as much as I could have with my daughter, when I was a hard driving maniac. So that'd be my probably advice to myself.
Very good. And so with Access Virtual Staffing, if somebody wants to get in touch, what's the process? How should they reach out?
Well, first of all, I mean, I'm so proud of Access Virtual Staffing. I'm just proud of the job you've done, David, too, and organizing the staff and the guys doing the software and the monitoring and our HR people. But listen, if you are an entrepreneur, you have a business, you need to look into virtual staffing. And I can tell you, I'm not trying to toot our own horn, but we're the best at it, okay? We just started, but I've been doing this for 10 years, trust me. So you get all of my skills, all of my experience in scoring virtual staffing people for yourself or staffing them. So if you want to get started with this, you go to accessvirtualstaffing.com, just the way it sounds, www.accessvirtualstaffing.com. You can give us a call. Our phone number is, I don't know what it is, but we'll plug that in. And speak to David Rush. He is amazing. Both a business coach, he's my chief operating officer, and the one doing the interview now. Guy's amazing. He will pinpoint and guide you, and before you know it, you will be doubling, tripling your profits, your sales, cutting your stress level in half or more, because you've got people doing what you need to get done to make your business successful. So highly recommend it. You'll love it, and we love to work with you, and we're just great people, doing a good job, having fun, and we'd love you to connect with us. So give us a call. Thanks.